Welcome to Alpha Bites, where we serve up bite-sized insights to help you grow your business and your bank account. Our host, Alex Zinni, CEO of Alpha Key Digital, dives into the latest marketing trends, proven strategies, and actionable tips to scale your online presence. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, Alpha Bites delivers the keys to unlocking your success. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Zinni, your host of Alpha Bites, where I sit down with business leaders and entrepreneurs to learn more about what makes them tick and to learn from their success. Past guests include Dr. David Gutman, Bill and Ryan Streb of Streb Electric, Kara Ogren of Synergy Physical Therapy and Wellness, and Christine Weber, the CEO of the Mentor Area Chamber of Commerce. This is our first season, so make sure you stay tuned for more great guests. But first, this episode is brought to you by Alpha Key Digital. Located in the vibrant heart of Northeast Ohio, Alpha Key Digital delivers revenue-generating digital marketing solutions tailored to plastic surgeons, dermatologists, any private practice looking to grow their patient base. From cutting-edge SEO and social media strategies to high-performing websites and PPC campaigns, our expert team is committed to driving measurable results that elevate your brand. So whether you're a local business striving to dominate your market or a national brand seeking a competitive edge, our comprehensive suite of services ensures success in today's crowded digital landscape. To unlock your business's full potential, please visit our website at alphakeydigital.com/contact to book an appointment. I want to give a quick shout out to the Willoughby Western Lake County Chamber of Commerce. That's where our guest and I have met. Although we have family that have been friends for years, that's where we formally met. So I'm going to introduce our guest, Bill Monreal, who is the owner and CEO of Monreal IT, located in Wickliffe, Ohio. With over 30 years of experience in technology and cybersecurity, Bill Monreal is a seasoned professional dedicated to helping businesses thrive. After attending the University of Akron, Bill began his career as a systems and network engineer. In 2001, he founded Monreal IT, which is driven by the core values of commitment, accountability, teamwork, integrity, and quality. And I know that Bill and his company have helped many people. So welcome to the show, Bill.
Hey, Alex. Thanks a lot for having me.
Of course. It's great to see you here, Bill. So tell all the listeners, what does Monreal IT do?
So we're a MSSP-plus, and that's kind of a term we coined. Because we're seeing this breakup between MSP and MSSP, and companies would do one well, but not the other. So we decided we're going to do all of those things based on industry standards and best practices. So we handle managed cybersecurity, managed IT infrastructure, so switching, routing, servers, cloud, AI, all of it.
Wow. So what have you seen over the years that's changed? I mean, there's tremendous change since that's taken place, but bring me back to the beginning. What were the kind of problems you guys were solving and solutions that you had, back in 2001 when you founded Monreal IT?
Yeah, I mean, we're so in the Windows world, Windows 2000 was just out, Microsoft's first real business operating system. We're getting away from NT. So there were a lot of different competitors in the market back then than there are now. But we have seen this constant cycle. So no matter what the new technology is, there's this explosion of thousands of companies offering solutions. And as technologists, you got to determine which ones you're going to hedge your bet on, like which ones are the right pick. And that's tough. And it takes a lot of experience and research to really figure that out. Plus, having the right people in your corner. So we align ourselves with, our solution aggregator is the largest in the industry. And if we've got questions on cybersecurity or AI or cloud, we can go to them. They can bring the resources from those manufacturers to us, help educate us, and help differentiate the solutions, that we've looked at. So that cycle, though, has happened over and over and over again. And right now, it just happens. Cybersecurity is still in that early phase of there's thousands of vendors, but so is AI, and AI is exploding faster than cybersecurity was.
Wow. So you're seeing And I've heard multiple people say this, that this AI, this birth of this AI and what it's all going to be doing to business is the largest opportunity that people have seen. And would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And how does the AI affect cybersecurity exactly? And explain it to like I'm 5 years old, because I know this stuff is very technical.
Yeah.
So yeah, how does the AI affect cybersecurity?
Well, I think you have to understand what AI does first, right? And trying to keep it at that. I mean, our objective is to keep everything simple. So our slogan, if you will, is we make cybersecurity simple. We try to take that same approach with everything that we do. So AI is really, it's a large language model, is what, this generative AI, all the buzz is about. There are multiple types of AI though. So and AI is not anything new. It's Alan Turing had the first arguable AI device when he built the machine he built, right, to crack the code
Mm.
of the Germans. So there have been evolutions. We're right now in version 4, which is the equivalent of like a 10-year-old in terms of its ability to understand what's being said in language. So the ability to read between the lines, the ability to pick up undertones. And I think the best example is when you go watch a movie that's intended for your kids, but there are adult things that make you laugh in it, but your kids really don't get it. Like
Mhm.
that's where LLM is at right now, version 4.
Mm.
Version 5 is supposed to be equivalent to about a 16, 17-year-old. So capable of understanding those undertones, but still lacking the wisdom of somebody that's more mature, right?
Mm.
Just raw interpretation. The big advantage of it is though is it can process much faster than the human brain, and it has access to all of the information that it has been fed, which is a lot, the whole internet basically. So that's what the AI is, and then looking at how can you take advantage of it, or what are the tools you could use. There's a couple big ones. So within the products you already have, there are AI tools. So Microsoft has them, Google has them. There's a ton of different vendors that have AI built in. All of your cybersecurity tools should have AI in them already and have been doing this for years, or you should get new ones.
Mhm.
And so then flip the script on that. Look at the other side of the coin on the bad guy's side, right? The difference between the LLM being used by cyber attackers and LLMs being used by the average person is that the LLM has limits when we use it, right? So if I go into Copilot or I go into ChatGPT, I can't remember the name of Google's AI, but whatever. If I go to them, they have limits. If I say, show me how to build a pipe bomb, it's going to reject that, right?
Mhm.
If I ask for something that I have rights to, though, within my company resources, like show me all of the payroll in the company,
Mhm.
it will produce that if I have access to it. Like even if I don't know I have access to it, but I do, it will give
Mhm.
it to me.
Mhm.
So there's some danger there, but flip that over. A bad actor can ask it to do anything,
Mhm.
and it will do it because they've removed all those controls. They hijacked it, and they
Mhm.
removed all those controls. So these bad actors use multiple tools or all the tools at their disposal, multiple um, disciplines they've already learned. So they confiscate emails through data exfiltration. They get into your workstation, they get into your server, whatever, and they pull your emails. And then they take those emails, they feed them into uh, AI, and they say, okay, find the best way to manipulate these people for this aim,
Mhm.
and produce 10 email chain to send to them.
Wow.
And bam. And it's that easy. They've got a sophisticated campaign that can trick
So that's really interesting, because one of the things that you mentioned was, if we went into like ChatGPT, for instance, and asked it to do something nefarious, it wouldn't do it. So
you. Yeah.
how did these people, are they using a different type of AI? Did they train their own AI, or is there some sort of open source out there that they use to make it do what they want, or how do they bypass that?
Yeah, and that's a good question that I don't know the exact answer to. But I can check with my resources and find out. But I do believe that it's basically Chat GPT hijack,
I
right?
see.
So yeah, if these guys get their hands into a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
They put a line of code in it that makes it so that you take the governor off, so to speak, of like, a golf cart, and then you're going faster, right? So they
Yeah,
find that governor switch and they flip it, and then it's doing, because I see AI all the time, images, of like, let's just say like Donald Trump or some, some images out there. When
yeah,
I log into Midjourney or something, it doesn't allow me to take the likeness of somebody. So it's
right.
obvious that they find a way, and I've always been curious about that, but that makes it's really scary. Are you familiar at all with kind of like the voice and how they're training voices to sound like people and everything
Oh
like
yeah.
that? Is there any sort of cybersecurity or any sort of or I should say security in general that can tell whether something is AI generated or not?
Yeah, there is, but they're still working on that. I can't
Hmm.
remember the name of there's a rule that says a data set to be natural will contain um, certain quantities of certain digits, if you will, right? Like if all the data was converted to the 10 base number system, like six would appear so many times.
Hmm.
And when that doesn't happen, they know it's a fraud, right? Like it's a naturally occurring thing in data.
Hmm.
Um, but it can't keep up. They're not able to process that fast enough yet. But what we can do today is to train our people. So
Hmm.
security awareness training is a huge uh, tool because human beings are the weakest link. So
Hmm.
if I don't know that this is a possibility that somebody could call me, say that they're my child, sound like my child,
Hmm.
and tell me that someone's holding him at gunpoint, and if I don't send this person $500 right now, they're going to shoot him, right?
Hmm.
Or the police pulled him over, or whatever, right? So if I don't know those things can happen, I might fall for the scam. But if I know that's the case,
Hmm.
see, I'll call you right back, honey. Hang up and call them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that little thing right there makes a huge difference. So, with smaller business, obviously large enterprises are really, focusing on this kind of thing and really investing in it. But for the smaller businesses, the CPA firms, the
yeah.
the small private practice, doctors with HIPAA records and all of these things out there, what should they focus on?
Well, you mentioned CPAs, so there's a recent. Well, I mean, it's not recent. There's the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, which was actually enacted in 1999, and since has been added onto. But it's really about like private information, and so the accountants have been kind of bundled in with like mortgage brokers and a number of other financial transactors that have personal information that could seriously jeopardize your security, right? Like someone could run credit against you, take out loans, and do all kinds of stuff. So those have been required to have particular security measures, and for accountants, it's called the WISP, a
Mm-hmm.
Written Information Security Plan. And there's a guideline and a whole list of items that you need to make sure that you check off as an accountant. And then you also need to maintain those items, have somebody watching the hornet's nest, if you will, and then you have to be able to report. You have to have reporting mechanisms. One other thing that I like to just make sure I educate people with as much as possible is if you have something happen from a cyber standpoint, don't ever say the word breach. Say
Mm-hmm.
cyber incident until you're sure it's a breach.
Mm-hmm.
Because from a legal standpoint, if you say we had a cyber breach, you are now placing yourself in peril from a lawsuit standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
If you say we've got a cyber incident, that means it's still open. We don't know what happened. We don't know if any data has been compromised.
I
So
see.
I know that was a tangent, but
Yeah. So kind of sticking with that though, what makes something a breach? Like, what is it?
so when you have finished your investigation, so the cyber incident happens, you finish your investigation, you get forensics. Um, if there was data that was exfiltrated or data that was ransomed and you don't know if it was exfiltrated, those things will need to be reported if you have a compliance, like say ITAR is a compliance you have, or DFARS, or PCI HIPAA. If you have those compliance requirements, you have to report to those particular bodies. But you also have a requirement to report to anybody's data that could have been jeopardized. So if you carry a bunch of pie like an accountant, right? You carry people's personal information, social security numbers, addresses. Yeah, you have to let them know that their data was breached.
Yeah, so if even if you're a small business owner, if you have to pay attention to these things now. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
not something you can ignore for sure. Do you think that people, or I guess hackers and people who are bad actors, are they focusing more on like accountants than they have in the past? Is it increasing even on the small business level?
Oh yeah. Through the whole COVID thing, it was a prime target. Accountants are still a prime target. There's so much fraud that the IRS has had to deal with. They're, I think they're over 2 years behind on some of the filings that were required, or not required, that were available during COVID.
Hmm.
So, the employee credit, whatever the ERC or ECR,
Hmm.
they were over 2 years behind. Last I heard on that. Um, and that's because of all of the fraud with that, all of the fraud with the personal filings.
Wow.
There's just a ton of it. Yeah, and
And a lot of the oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's accountants are the easiest targets if you want to do those kind of filings.
Especially smaller small businesses, because it's not as difficult to hack in. And do people hack in through Wi-Fi? Where are the points where the security needs to take place that's going to ensure that they're protected?
Yeah, great question. The end user is the weakest link, so that's the easiest way to get in. A lot of times, you just get a link emailed to you. It looks like it's right. You click it, and boom,
Mhm.
some bad actor has now infected your machine. He's got a foothold in your machine, and now he's spreading laterally across the environment. And then they're going to launch a cyber attack. They got enough of a foothold in there that it's not easy for you to get them out.
Wow. So it can just be a link click.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had a client we picked up last year. Believe it or not, their IT admin clicked the link,
Hmm.
and he has administrative privileges. Now, as an administrator, there are best practices, right? Like the day-to-day account, my account that receives email should not have administrative privileges. I should have to log out of that account and log into another account to get admin rights.
Hmm.
But he didn't. His admin rights were on his day-to-day account, and they were in there about a month, and then they ransomed them. And I mean, we're talking mid six figures. Yeah, for the and insurance is only going to cover the first 100.
Wow.
So yeah, when you think about that, I mean, that's it's a medium size. By SMB, it's by the national standard, it's
Hmm.
still a small business.
Yeah.
Um, but by what the average guy thinks of, it's a medium sized business. It's
Hmm.
enough employees there to be pretty impressive. So they had tools in place. They had providers. They had an MSP, and they thought they were secure. But there's the difference between thinking you're secure and knowing you're secure,
Right.
and that's why we follow industry standards and best practices. But when I say knowing you're secure, that comes with the caveat. It's not a matter of if you will be attacked or
Hmm.
breached.
Hmm.
It's a when.
Right.
And when that attack happens, do you have the tools in place to know that the bad actors are there, number one, and then to isolate, number two, and then
Hmm.
to remove them, number three? Do you have that capability? Vast majority of small businesses still don't have that.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening here, that's a great reminder. I know that someone listening is thinking the same thing I am right now, which is, whoops, I don't know if I have a separate login as my administrative, because a lot of people do that. They'll have their main use email as an admin for their accounts. And that's right there is a great nugget of wisdom that people should implement right away, which is, have that separate account. for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like fundamental, right? Like that's
Mhm.
blocking and tackling. You should not have that.
Mhm.
Another thing that is good to do is so in a in most environments there's an account that some people refer to as a God account, right? It's like
Mhm.
the domain admin default account in a Windows
Mhm.
environment.
Mhm.
The best practice there is to rename that account, give it a complex password,
Mhm.
and turn it off, basically disable it or don't log into it, right?
Mhm.
Until you absolutely have no other option. And then when you log into it, have alerts that fire off and say this account has been activated. Because
Interesting.
that, yeah. And day to day, you should not really need to use that account if you know what you're doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the things I've heard you mention a few times is Windows, but
Yeah.
what about Mac? How much safer are Macs? Is that a myth, or is that true that they're so much safer than Windows units?
Yeah. No, total myth.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So there was I just went to an event. They said, look, in the United States, you could be told that and probably believe it, and we see why.
Hmm.
Because if you think about cell phones, Mac has 60% or Apple has 60% of the market in the United States,
Hmm.
which is substantial,
Hmm.
right? But globally, they have like 7% global.
Hmm.
So it is not, 93% is one target and 7% is another.
Hmm.
You're not, who's going after the 7%? Nobody,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Very few actors.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, there have been breaches on Apple. There have been breaches on Linux.
Hmm.
Everything has one.
Hmm. Yeah, because I know some people feel very safe with their Apple devices, but they can still be hacked into.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And even our cell phone networks, they're starting to get a little safer. But I think about 12, 18 months ago, we discovered that you could hop from one cell phone to, if you're a bad actor, you could
Hmm.
take over one cell phone and hop to the next and take it over.
Hmm.
You just get one, and now
Hmm.
you can start spreading through the towers to the
Wow.
next device. Yeah, and that's a huge. You want to talk about bad actors, nation state actors?
Hmm.
You give them that, you could shut down our communications very quickly because you would make it impossible for anything to communicate. There'd be so much bad traffic.
Wow. That's, yeah, another amazing thing to think about.
Yeah,
And it's one of those things where, because of how quickly it's evolving and all the changes, it's really important that companies like your company and other people out there are paying attention to this and bringing awareness to it. You
yeah.
know, what is a typical, I don't know if typical, but what is one of the more common types of attacks? Because I've heard of, phishing, and there's, encryption, malware and encryption. What do you see as being the most common type of attack?
Well, yeah. So there's attack types, but there's vectors of attack as well. So like email is a vector of attack. Um, IoT using Telnet is another vector of attack. So there are different vectors.
Hmm.
That's way too nerdy for the average person to understand. But it is important to understand that there are underlying differences.
Hmm.
Email still number one, still the number one form of attack today. Um, Social engineering is actually very low, but it's very, very effective.
And what is social engineering?
Well, we had talked about like the voice engineering, voice
Hmm. Hmm.
phishing,
Yep.
right? That's a social engineering.
Okay.
But traditional social engineering is walking into a business, acting like you have a purpose to be there,
Hmm.
gaining access to their equipment, and compromising it. So you hire people to do social engineering. They'll leave USB keys or sticks in the parking lot or on a bench or on a shelf or a counter, and people will pick them up and put them in their computer to see what's on it, and
Wow.
boom, yeah, yeah, they're infected, and now it's spreading across the network. The other thing they'll do is they'll come in and act like they're a repair person, or
Mm.
I'm with Spectrum, or I'm with AT&T. I need to flash a fake badge, and boom, they gain access to the network closet, or they gain access to a PC. I'm with the help desk. Um, so in a larger organization, that's easy because nobody can know all the faces.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So let's stick with the vector of email, because I know I get so many different emails a day that are, are they usually putting links in, and then what do those links do? Like, are they what kind of infections take place, or what is it that they're aiming to do?
Yeah, so there's different types of phishing attacks. There's uh, like spear phishing, and then there is just cast the net phishing, traditional phishing. The castanet style is I just spray this out there, and I'm hoping for a 2 or 4% return on it, right? Just in terms of number of people that respond. Where spear phishing is kind of more the targeted attack. I intercept some emails from you, and then I work my magic.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the regular general net phishing. I create a campaign. I use AI. I put some links in there to send you to something that is going to launch a malicious program and download it onto your computer, and I'm going to get a foothold. That's the most common, and it would be like a Facebook link or a LinkedIn link or something, and you'd go to a site that looks like Facebook or looks like LinkedIn, but it's not. Or you would have nothing would happen. You get an error, but actually software is being downloaded. So when you go to those other sites like Facebook or LinkedIn or your bank site, those there are a couple different ways they present themselves, but just changing a single letter in the host name, so Facebooks.com or something like that, make it look like that, and then you go. It looks exactly the same. Everything looks right at first check. You log in, they now have your credentials. And Facebook, not as big of a deal as your bank.
Sure.
And then there's also man in the middle attack. So if you clicked, I downloaded some software, I redirect your DNS to my DNS servers, and I give you a site that, when you type in citizens.com and you go to the website, everything looks exactly like it should, right? The URL matches, everything looks right. And then you log in, and then you get a MFA response. I intercept all of that, and I'm actually logging into the real site, gaining access to your financials.
Wow.
So those are spray and pray type attacks. Then the spear phishing is I compromise your email, and this is common on M365 these days because there's a lot of operators that don't really know how they should set up their environments. They don't know how to secure it properly, and they don't know how to put the right controls in to alert them when somebody has gotten in. If I compromise your email box and I start intercepting your email, say you're in finance and you guys are building a building, and you've got $4 million in funds to build the building. I start watching your email. I see you've got a payment of $500,000 due next Friday to XYZ company. I take that email, I craft it and say, hey, Alex, we've changed our bank account. The ACH is now changed to this account. So would you submit next Friday's payment to that?
Wow.
And it looks exactly, it's the same email chain you've been corresponding with this person back and forth on. You can't, how do you tell the difference, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And so then, you make the payment, and and I was actually talking to a guy the other day that one of his vendors, this happened to, a guy paid $200,000 to that he owed to a bogus company. It was because he didn't have email security, not the vendor, right? And
so he's at fault, and what can you do, right?
yeah, you can't recover the money. You're out. So I mean, it's worth the training. A lot of people reject training, saying that it's like, oh, it's too much. I got too much going on. Well, when you lose $500,000 in your profits to some bad actor, is it worth it then? Right? That's
Right.
You want to avoid that situation. So I think of it as we're in a war, and we need to have everybody armed to the teeth to defend ourselves against these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's amazing that they can do that. And if that person was going to protect themselves, like you said, in an email chain, it looks almost identical. Is it a simple thing that they could do that would prevent that from happening?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our policy now is anytime an ACH or any banking information request is made,
Mhm.
we call the person that sent that email or we believe sent that email.
Mhm.
And if it's a substantial amount of money, we will reach out to their superiors and make sure that it's legit.
Mhm. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. You have to do that. But one of the things that I think a lot of people don't are worried about is encryption too. Can you
Yeah.
explain what that kind of attack is? And is it something that is less common than it was a few years back, or more common, or what have you seen with the encryption type attacks?
Well, common is relative. So, like at different times, different things become more or less common. Like recently, I think 3 weeks ago now, Friday, um, we saw a huge spike in attacks on IoT devices. So, which usually precedes a huge botnet attack, which is like denial of service. So it changes as time goes.
Mhm.
There's a normal, like settled in order that happens, yes, in terms of the type of attacks. But um, so back to your question, the um, the ransomware is when I am a bad actor. I get into your environment and I go and I find your backups. I map your environment out first. I figure out where's what. I go find your backups. I get everything. I get a script ready to go to encrypt all your key data, all your servers, and then I wait till the weekend. And I know you guys are off, and it's Friday night, 10 o'clock. Nobody's paying attention to what's going on. I then go and delete all of your backups. And
Wow.
if you don't have a second set of backups somewhere in the cloud that I can't gain access to, you're in trouble. Then I launch an encryption on all of your servers. So, or workstations. I mean, we saw a company that got all their workstations, all their servers bricked over the course of a week.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy, just craziness.
Jeez.
Yeah, and we were trying to get cybersecurity in there, and it's. I don't mean to laugh. It's like I laugh because I feel like I preach this stuff over and over and over again, and it falls on deaf ears until
Mhm.
there's some emotional change in you. Like when you've been robbed, you feel different, violated, right? When you've been scammed, you feel violated. Well, that's exactly emotionally what happens to a business owner or the executives
Yeah.
when this stuff happens. And that changes your perspective. So getting people off of that, no, 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 I don't need that, onto understanding the emotional journey you face if you don't heed the warning.
Wow. And
Uh,
that's such a common thing that I'm hearing throughout the conversation is don't let it get to that point,
yeah,
right? There's things that you can do. There's a lot of things you can do and they should be done. So don't, for anyone listening, don't let it get to that point.
yeah, absolutely.
So I do have one final question for you, Bill, and I want to thank you for your time. But before I do that, I just want to point everybody to Monreal IT's website, which is just www.monrealit.com. That's MONREALIT.com. So make sure you check them out.
Yeah.
Fill out the contact form, give them a call, and don't let this happen to you because you don't want to feel that violation, and you don't want to be losing that kind of money. It's just not, it's something that can be avoided and you can do it. So make sure
Oh,
you get in touch, definitely. But the final question, and it's a little bit different, is what is the best piece of advice that anybody has ever given you in your business? Mentor or a friend? What's some great advice that you've gotten that you'd want to share?
well, I mean, there's a lot of good advice have gotten over the years. When I was young, my dad actually told me, make sure you have a good accountant and a good lawyer. Like, I know it's expensive, but always have those. That was a good thing. I would say, adding to that now, make sure you have a good cybersecurity person, because the same thing is true. You'll be in a lot of trouble if you don't. Um, Other than that, though, I think the best advice I got transcends business, and is that like everything that I do should come from a place of love and not corny, cheesy, like durable, like based in truth, kind, patient, um, but always trying to help the people I'm interacting with. And in business and personally, that has served me well.
Mhm. Well, I can speak and say that you're definitely you've spread a lot of really good love and energy and have helped a lot of people. And I can brag about you and say that that is apparent from everything that I've seen. So, Bill, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. Again, everybody visit www.monrealit.com. What's the best way to get in touch with someone on your team, Bill? Is it to call or fill out a form?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to discuss something or get a meeting together, yeah, form is the best. You can always call me. My cell phone's 440-785-3095. I still pick up the phone and I talk to anyone. So
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Bill. We'll talk to you guys soon.
thanks, Alex.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Alpha Bytes. If you found today's insights valuable, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with your network. Let's keep the conversation going. Connect with us on social media or visit us at alphakeydigital.com/alphabytes. Remember, the keys to your digital success are just a byte away. See you next time.